The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook, download their top-rated app, and use promo code RTRS. And brought to you by L.L. Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Kornblau & Kornblau, the official law firm of the process, and Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Get yours nationwide now at statesidevodka.com. Sign up for the newsletter at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. On today's show, no Oklahoma City game, postponed due to contract tracing, which allows us to discuss the loss in Memphis, Shake Milton's amazing game, Ben Simmons' not so amazing game. We will bring on James Harden enthusiast Zoe of the Corner 3 newsletter, James Harden, who is not fat anymore, to talk about the Sixers' non-acquisition of James Harden and how Alonzo is doing. And finally, we'll get to a jigsaw that was submitted by a listener. Couple of things to get to before we get started. The Carl Landry Record Club this week, 3 albums we're talking about. Brand new, one from Remy Shand, and one from Lyrics Born. And then on Tuesday, there will be a new episode with band guy and music score guy Daniel Hart. Really fun episode. And as well, we wanted to send our love to the family of Process Pup Sixer, who lost his 2-year battle with cancer just this past week. Sixer was 10 years old, had a fight with cancer. Eric and his brother Will have been listeners since the beginning. This is Eric's dog. Sixer had a good life, watched a lot of games with Eric, played with his 2 kids, and Eric had him from when he was a puppy 10 years ago. His original name was Wilfred when he adopted him, which was Eric's dad's name, but then they changed it to Sixer. So we want to send our love to Sixer's family and Eric and all that stuff. Thanks for riding with us, and thanks for letting us know. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
Laddie, sweetie, the man is here.
Say the name, I say the name, I say the name.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has always believed in Andy Reid to make the right call in crunch time, Mike Levin.
Love Andy.
Yeah.
That play call, I don't know if it was him or Eric Bieniemy, but what a really cool. You think about that, where they're not going to, they're like, it's just really beautiful Foles-esque trickery at the line.
I mean,
and
with the backup quarterback.
I commend them for it.
The backup quarterback.
The backup quarterback in a shotgun on 4th and 1 or inches.
In their own.
Remarkable.
On their own, territory. Winning. It's just unbelievable.
It's a ballsy play. Play to win.
When I was watching it, I kind of thought it might happen. Like when they lined up, and was it Romo doing that game? It was Romo doing that game.
Yeah.
He kept just saying, no one's going to move because they're definitely not doing anything. And the more he said that, the more I was like, they're going to go for it. They're going to go for it. What a wild fucking call. Unbelievable.
I love it. Play to win. Go get it.
Yeah. The Apple Podcast 5-star review. We're up to 2,830. When we get to 3,000, I read all the reviews from 2,000 to 3,000. This one comes from Ben Simmons, FG 3%. Subject line: this podcast has ruined my life. The review is not good to know too much about this team.
Fair.
Did you leave that? Did you leave that review?
I leave all of them. That's the thing that you don't know.
Tonight's game, postponed. Sunday night's game, I never know when people are listening, postponed due to contact tracing. One would guess it had something to do with Jonas Valanciunas. They didn't say specifically that he had tested positive, but that he entered the health and safety protocol, who the Sixers had played on Saturday, and the Sixers did not have the requisite 8 players. So we don't know. Is the next game Tuesday? Because I know they have a game Wednesday night against Boston. I don't know what there is between that, so I don't know what the status.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, who knows?
Who knows what's going on? I'm sure. No, they're off until Wednesday.
Okay.
You know, we just don't have enough information to know.
Yeah.
But you can line it up relatively easily if you have, Grizzlies and Wolves played Wednesday. Karl Anthony Towns tested positive. They canceled Grizzlies Wolves part 2 on Friday. Mm-hmm. But then they let Memphis play us. And then the day after, Jonas Valanciunas tests positive. And now it's canceled. It just seems like, there's just not enough time for it to all happen.
Right.
And assume we just don't fucking know. It's just hard. I get that they're all doing their best, and that's why they didn't schedule the games and all that stuff. We've talked about it plenty, but I feel like I would have rather them do like, it's every time it's a 2-game series.
Right.
And you play this team twice.
Right.
And then you have 2 days off and you play another team twice.
Right.
And then you have 2 days off. Like, it's just a little more isolated. Like, there's no reason why it had to. I mean, first of all, there's no reason why why we had to play everybody. It's a weird season. Just like try to do it as best you can. But there's definitely no reason why the Sixers had to go to 2 road games back to back, a Memphis, Oklahoma City back to back. There's just no reason for it. And I think that it was. I don't know if they needed like everybody to play everybody over the season, and that feels like fairness, but fairness is way out the window. Like it should.
Yeah.
That seemed like that would have been a better way to like sort of contain things,
or just
rather than just like flippantly. Here's the regular schedule, a little bit expedited.
Yeah, or you do a more regional schedule. That's actually a really interesting idea. That the 2 games. Because honestly, if you play 2 games against everybody, that's 58 games, and then you could play, I don't know, your division 2 times each more, and then that ends up being it. I don't know. I know the schedule in general is like a puzzle. I can't even imagine how they do it. But
no, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. So we'll see.
But I am glad that they're postponing games now. Like the one that the Sixers had to play was a total sham. That they dressed Mike Scott even though they knew he wasn't playing. A bad look for the league, and then good that they seemingly have learned from that to be like, let's just
postpone them,
do it precautionary, because these games aren't good. Like having to we played Miami. Obviously, the overtime game was good, and that's an indictment on us. But that second, I mean, they're just like they're not at full strength. Like, what's the point of trying to jam these games in if they're not going to be good? Unless they're on the Sixers game, that the Sixers Miami game was like on national TV and they got kicked off it. It's just like, it just seems like all, I don't know. I'm glad they're postponing games. That we talked about it last time, that it was like, well, like the fairness of whether they should, because of that Rockets game that got, it's like, just like, let's be safer, because
it just seems they're erring on the side of postponing,
which they should be.
That's the smart thing.
And so it's frustrating that I think people are pissed off that this game got canceled when they played the night before, but I think that it's if there's a 5-day window before when you get it, before you test positive, then it's just like, you don't know, are you really going to have that long in between games? The answer is probably yes, but it's just like hard to put a season together like that. And so I get that they're trying, but I don't know. This just seems really untenable, and everyone seems to be doing as good as a job that they can, but it's starting to go very off the rails here.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna. My guess is they're going to postpone what they need to postpone and just deal with it when they have to deal with it at the break, and then just sort of reshuffle. And if teams play less games, they play less games. That's my guess is what they'll do. And,
which is fine. Yeah, which is I guess how it should be.
Yeah.
But let's keep taking those precautions. Now, there was reporting a couple of days ago that Windhorst and Lowe saying that some NBA players are testing positive a second time.
Yeah, well,
which is alarming, and hopefully should be like an eye-opening for them, that it's just, once if you're positive once, then it's just not like, okay, free reign to do whatever the hell.
I think that was more than anything a message to the players, because they sort of couched it with, they were talking about the players who tested positive very early when they were less sure of the testing. So that article honestly seemed like because every sport went through this, specifically baseball, when the players themselves were not sort of adhering to the protocols that the league put forth, and like the league basically said, "Hey, look, guys, here are the rules. We're gonna play. If you don't like, what's it called? If you don't adhere to the rules and you end up fucking it up, it's your team that's gonna pay for it." And I think those new protocols and honestly the message from the article from Windhorst and Lowe was a message to the players. Like, you might have to take the precautions that we're putting forth. You might have to take them a little more seriously if you want this to work. So we'll see. Like I imagine we'll get more information. It's good that they have 2 days off before the next game's scheduled anyway. So I'm sure we'll hear about that. I did want to talk about the Grizzlies game, because we've seen a lot of good Shake Milton this year. I mean, like, overall, honestly, I don't think it's that big a deal that they lose to Memphis on the road without Embiid. It's not a huge deal. That was next to the Clippers game, I think that was probably my favorite Shake Milton game. He gets pretty fired up, and it did seem like he wanted to win the game for the team, and I enjoyed it. Like, overall didn't enjoy the game, but I enjoyed him in that.
Yeah, the game was frustrating because they just turned the ball over so many goddamn times. It wasn't like, and it wasn't turnovers like we can't get anything going, we have to force stuff or whatever, or like the defense was smothering. It was just like stupid plays between Ben and Tobias and some of the other guys, just like kind of giving the ball up. Shake is, and also they only lost by 2, and there were like a bunch, like Dwight was 2 of 8, I think, from the line. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a bunch of just like, they should have won that game, especially if Embiid and or Seth were playing. I think that's a pretty solidly easy win, and they should have won it anyway. But even I watched it later on, so I already knew the outcome. So it's always easier to have a little bit more of a sober take about it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was very frustrating in the moment, but it was like, that was the game they should have won. I'm not going to sweat it as far as like how I view them big picture. But yeah, Shake he's the man, dude. I loved him in college. I loved him when they drafted him, and he's so much better than I thought he would be. It is shocking how, like, it is to a point that when he misses, I am stumped. I'm stupefied by how the shot couldn't go in, because it just seems like every time the confidence and comfort and ease that he gets to his spots just seems like he's always going to make it. And he's really good. He was pissed, rightfully so, that he didn't get the last shot. Mm-hmm. He deserved the last shot. He should have gotten the last shot. Maybe he should get the last shot even if the Sixers are at full health, because he's, I think, the best combination of, if teams are doubling Embiid and giving him trouble, he's the best combination of like getting to the spots that he wants and possibly getting fouled. They did start to trap him as soon as he touched the ball, which I think says as much about the rest of the team at that point as it does. It says a little bit about both. I would love to just give him the ball and let him go. And if they trap him, then they trap him. When he comes in off the bench, it's so much like, all right, we're just going to kind of let him do his thing. Mm-hmm. And it becomes like pick and roll, a little lob, a little bit of a kick out, just like getting to his spots, finishing at the rim, like whatever he needs to. It's just like, all right, Shake's here. Let him get his 4 straight touches where he just like immediately gets possession. It has to be one of the most effective things in the league. It's just him operating the pick and roll. Like, he is that level of consistent and safe, and he's not trying to do too much. It's just, he's great. He's great, and he needs to be playing all the time.
I wonder if he would get more minutes if he was playing right as the game started. You know, like when they tip it, we have 5 players on the court.
He's late. He's late to the game because he's taking a big shit. That's how he gets so light and easy.
The 2 things I wanted to note about him from the game that I thought were, aside from how personally he seemed to be taking the game, which I enjoy. Like I like when guys are like that. That's a thing that gets Embiid's like that. Except Embiid can go to pout mode pretty quickly, and it didn't seem like Shake was going to do that. But as far as basketball goes, his mid-range jumper is pretty sweet, you know?
Automatic.
And it's nice to see a guard hit those shots, you know, him 17 feet away, straight up. Like he's just got it's one of the things that is fun to watch Chris Paul for him to get to that spot. And Shake looks really pretty shooting that. And then
I would say it's the most consistent shot the Sixers have had since like Andre Miller in that little mid range.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
That little post up.
And then
I can't imagine. They've had so many, like they've had guys that used to be able to hit shots that no longer can. We got plenty of those.
Right.
But as far as like that's going in every time, it feels really very automatic that Shake off the dribble, pulling up where he wants to is going in.
And then the other thing is there was one point where he had the ball under the rim and he basically bullied the guy next to him and got the layup, like got the shot off. And if you had told me last year that Shake Milton was going to be able to like push a guy out of the way under the rim, maybe I would have asked if it was JJ Barea, or the fact that it wasn't, and it was an actual full-size NBA basketball player is unbelievable. I need to know what he ate and what his workout regimen was in the offseason, because he's legit stronger. He's much, much stronger.
He's got that, because like Kevin Durant is not visibly strong.
No.
Like you can see he's still he's obviously incredibly tall. Like his arms are not strong, but he plays strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know that Shake's ever going to be able to get to like Desmond Bane arms and just be like busting through. But I think there's a level of length and being able to just sort of like get where you want with that kind of, because Shake is very long, 7 foot wingspan. And if he has that kind of strength to be able to do that, and he's been great on defense. Every podcast we just have to allot 10 minutes for me to be so excited and thankful, like grateful. How rare it is that like we're grateful for something with the Sixers, and I just feel it's so nice. Like what a treat! Everything it is. It's like here's more of the food that you like. We got it for you, and it's like it's Shake just shooting it 80% from the field and getting wherever he wants.
It's the food that you like.
It's everything.
Yeah. Ben Simmons was pretty bad in the game. I don't even know what to say. Like I feel like I'm sort of done with Ben talk for a while overall. I think he had 5 turnovers in the first half. He doesn't look. There's only 2 things that go through my head when I'm watching him. Is either he's hurt or mentally, for one reason or another, whether it is the Harden trade, whether it is whatever his role is supposed to be, something, he does not seem engaged in a meaningful way, in especially not since the middle of last season, you know. But he just doesn't look like much right now.
I don't think he doesn't look engaged. I think he's making mistakes. I think he's driving in a lot of times without a plan. He's always been a driving kick guy, and I'm fine with that. I love driving kick. That's how like offense should be run, and it makes the defense scramble and stuff. And he is still, regardless of how I feel about him in that little, you know, if
flinging up there thing.
Yeah, whether it's him in that little like 3 to 8 foot range. I think NBA defenses still collapse on him. It's not like they're just letting him do whatever he wants. They still have to account for him. But there's been a lot of he's done so many drive and kick like directly backwards, and it seems like a lot of teams, like Dylan Brooks specifically, is really if you watch him enough, you really have a sense of where that's going. And so I think teams are just pretty good now at adjusting to it. He hit a couple shots, like jumpers, kind of in like a little fading thing. He was willing to take the three late in the game. It airballed, but again, I'm fine with it. The foul shot looks better. Yeah, but like these kinds of mistakes that he makes, like he needs a move, needs to be willing to do some more simple stuff, because the drive in with no plan, stop, stand around, look for somebody. Like when it's fluid, when it's like I know where my guys are going to be. If this guy doesn't collapse on me, then I'm kicking it out to that shooter, and if he doesn't, then I'm going all the way in and getting fouled. Like that's fine. Like this, like it's not like he's not going to become this isolation player all the time that's only looking out for him. But I think that there needs to be, he doesn't look totally right now, whether it's injury or whatever. He's just not playing as well as he should be. But as the ultimate Ben Simmons centrist, I am a little frustrated, but not crazily concerned. Is my resting face.
He has his lowest assist rate of his career so far, his highest turnover rate. And I would say that your note about the driving kick and really the only thing being open is behind him. That's actually seems like a lot of where Embiid's threes come from, or where they could come from if Embiid shot them. It does seem like defenses. It used to be a few teams did that to him. The Celtics would do it to him, or the Raptors would do it to him. But it does seem like everybody has the book at this point. And when everybody has the book, you gotta write something new. And so hopefully they're watching film and figuring that out and figuring out where he can go and what he can do, because I don't think the post up is it either. He's set some nice screens and he's done that on offense, but the rest of the stuff could be better, could be a lot better.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to Zoe, or do you have anything more on this game?
I thought it was a good Matisse game. I thought he hit a couple shots. He had a nice little drive and finish, the kind of a finger roll at the rim. That was good. I think he is, he was not healthy coming in training camp, in the abbreviated training camp. So again, I think I'm back to, I think I'm Matisse Thybulle centrist also. Maybe centrist to a little bit more positive, just because he's a rotation player. Like you're not expecting. He's not being paid like he needs to be the best or second best player on a championship team. So I'm willing to like wait it out with him and sort of live with his mistakes over a longer period of time, because you're just like, okay, well, for now we can go to this guy or that guy. Ben, they need to be actually good, like immediately. But yeah, I think Matisse had a couple nice blocks. Like it's just, he seems like there's going to be moments when he looks like he's
pretty sure he had
deer on roller skates.
Pretty sure he had a drive and layup out of nowhere where he dribbled it twice. Yeah.
So I think he's developing. I don't think it's impossible that he could become a fine offensive player, a limited offensive player, but a fine one. And so I'm going to keep believing in it, because I think that if it'd be worthwhile to do. I'm not just going to give up on a guy that with that kind of, because it's all about like, look, there's your guys like Tyrese Maxey, who doesn't have, I mean, his elite or potentially elite skill is getting to the rim, handling the ball and getting his own shot. And he's developing, like, obviously the floater is beautiful and very fun and it's always going in. But like Matisse has the potential to be a like top 5, like all defense team. Like that's his skill. Like, and that skill is one of the best, projects to be one of the best skills on the team. Like Seth Curry's shooting, that's a top 5 skill. I would say Ben and Joel's defense, also potentially top 5 skill. Shake pulling up off the dribble, maybe a potential top 5 skill. I don't know. I'm believing in it.
Anything else?
Dwight Howard offensive rebounding, top 5 skill.
Sure, why not?
Dwight Howard fouling,
top 5 skill for sure. Skill?
Yeah. But I think Matisse it projects to be that kind of potential, and it might not get there. He might just always suck on defense too much. He might be Andre Robertson and just like you can't play him. But I think that there's something there, and I think it's really worth worth doing. We talked about it last pod, but I was encouraged by a pretty good Matisse game last night.
Yeah, when the threes go in and he doesn't try to do anything else, you know,
it makes it easier,
silly.
for sure.
Yeah, it makes it much easier. And they need him to not foul when he's in there, and he didn't. Mike, how would you like to hear about a happy Kornblau customer? I guess it's not customer.
Please.
Yeah. Got an email. Hey, guys, I'm very late with this email, but I wanted to give Kornblau some credit. I had a very minor setback with dental surgery I had last year. I ended up needing some further work done. I was upset that this small amount of money was coming out of my own pocket. At 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night, I emailed Kornblau and asked him if I had any leg to stand on, and asked him what he thought of the first preseason game. Within a half hour, he called me back and told me that, unfortunately, no, I didn't have a leg to stand on. But we talked a bit about Tyrese and Furkan, and we hung up. I just wanted to let you guys know, as I'm sure many people have, how responsive and friendly he was for something that really wasn't worth his time. Injured at work, here I come. Thank you, Anonymous.
Love that. Even if he doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Yep.
He's still standing on principle.
Yes.
Being nice about Kornblau.
Yeah. Kornblau & Kornblau is the official law firm of the process. He was reaching out because, Kornblau is the premier boutique personal injury law firm in the Delaware Valley, who specializes in medical malpractice. It would have been great if he had a leg to stand on, but he doesn't. But Kornblau is there for all your legal needs. He will help you out. He will call you on a Wednesday night, even if you email him, even if you want to talk about the Sixers. He's got your back. Personal injury lawsuits can take forever. They suck. It's good to have someone who really knows what he's doing by your side, and somebody who cares about how you're feeling about the whole thing. Guide you through it. That's Kornblau. Like I said, specializes in medical malpractice, but can take care of any personal injury. And like we've had people reach out with any sort of legal problem. Kornblau helps them out. So give them a call or shoot them an email. It doesn't cost you anything, nothing. And you're always going to get a Kornblau. A lot of these places, these law firms you hear about, they're just referral services, not this. We're referring you to Kornblau, and you're going to get a Kornblau. 215-576-7200. Ask for Adam, or email kornblau@kornblau.com. Kornblau & Kornblau, official law firm of the process. We welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast the author of the Corner 3 newsletter, which is brought to you by Stateside Vodka, which you can now order in 44 states across the United States. Sorry, Tennessee. No, I think Tennessee, actually, you can. I think it's Hawaii and Alaska and Utah and a couple others. But it is the best vodka you can buy. It's distilled 7 times. It's gluten-free. It's kosher. It's carb-free. It's awesome. Made right here in Philly. Go to statesidevodka.com, but make sure you're 21. Zoe, you're an enjoyer of Stateside Vodka. You're an enjoyer of James Harden, and you're here. Hi. How you doing, man?
Oh, man. Doing good, man. Good to see you guys. Another wonderful week, another wonderful weekend in the basketball world and in Delco. So, I'm alive and here.
Honestly, the reality is we're retaping the first 5 minutes that we did with Zoe, and I just felt like the Delco thing was so charming that I almost don't think we can skip it again.
We can't recreate it. It's not going to happen.
We can't recreate it. It's not going to happen. Okay. Yeah, it's just... It was too good. It was too money the first time.
Lost to the archives.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's in there. Who knows? Maybe we'll have it.
But we did talk about, and we were talking about now, Zoe having a second child to offset, almost for the reason of offsetting the hurt of James Harden. I don't know if that lines up sort of chronologically, but it feels like it to me.
Knowing this franchise, something told me I was going to need something to help me offset whatever they pissed me off or made me sad about. So. It's perfect. The news came at a wonderful time.
I gotta say, if we can't do the Delco thing again, I'm not doing the fucking kid thing again. I mean, no, just kidding. Congratulations.
We'll count it as dead cat money. It's dead cat money. It's fine.
Sunk cost.
So I don't know. Obviously you were riding hard for the Harden trade, riding real hard. Mm-hmm. And it didn't happen. I want you to take me into your feelings when you see it pop up on Twitter that it's Brooklyn.
So I was actually I was on my way to I was running some errands and picking up my son from daycare, and I saw I saw a buddy of mine tweet, "Oh man, like I feel like this is happening like right now." And then 20 seconds later, he tweeted "fuck," and I was like, "Oh." And I just knew, like I knew right there that and then I saw the Wolves tweet, and like I was pretty down bad for like a good 48 hours, and I think it was a lot of me wishes I didn't know how deep they were. Like I wish I didn't know that they were literally like an hour away from having them. I feel like. And then I think it was maybe Friday I read that there was, I think it was a Keith Pompey story that he said that it was like done, that they called in and Matisse's, so they called Clutch and then they called Matisse's agents and was like, yeah, like Houston's happening like today, and like then all of a sudden it didn't happen, and I was like, God damn, like that didn't make me feel any better. Like, you know what I mean? Like knowing that they felt so confident about it that they started calling agents and shit. It was just like that.
They busted into the feed of Matisse's vlog. Like, in the middle of it, he's doing a thing, and they're like, "Hey, we gotta talk to you, man."
Matisse was doing yoga, and they're like, "Dude, we gotta chat. Like, can you come down the hall?"
Himself doing yoga.
I need you to come down the hall in like 5 minutes, dude. We gotta chat.
Well, and then predictably, I was texting Sixers Adam before the game, and I was like, he's gonna have like 19 assists tonight or something, right? Like that's so predictably he shows up. He looks totally skinny.
Took his fat suit off.
Harden.
Right. Took his fat suit off.
He's like chopping up his teammates. He's like hyping them up. He's loving. He's high fiving the refs. He's thanking them.
He's hugging people and shit. He was like, him and KD already have a special handshake from their OKC days that they revamped. I was like, get the fuck out of my face, man. Like it was a predictable night. He went out and he looked awesome, and everybody looked so much better. Like Joe Harris, I don't think missed a shot.
No.
They all looked so much better, and he literally shooed right into their lineup. And the crazy thing, scary thing, whatever you want to call it, they don't even have Kyrie yet. And like whenever he's supposed to,
he'll make them worse.
Right. Ironically, Kyrie will make them a lot worse. They're probably like, dude, just sit out as long as you want now. We're fine.
Yeah.
It
was crazy that Nick Vucevic in disguise tried to pick him up as his Uber driver and drive him to what he thought was a strip club, and James said, "No, I know where I'm going."
He's like, "Nah, dude,
and it's
I know where I'm
to
going.
The arena."
He's like, "I've been to Brooklyn before. I know where I'm going, dude. Sorry."
Yeah, the fear is that, and I bet this is possible, that just to sort of show everyone, and I know he did that, Saturday night, but just to sort of show everyone what he's capable of, James Harden super point guard or something could exist the rest of the year, where he decides Wilt Chamberlain that he wants to lead the league in assists, which I think he might already be doing, but just be totally comfortable. I don't get the sense, people talked about him a lot, that he was selfish, he had to do it this way, that way. I really never got that sense from him that he cared that much. I don't know. It seemed like what they did in Houston was the creation of Daryl and what's his name? D'Antoni, as much as it was Harden. So I just a James Harden revenge tour is probably not going to work out real well for us, I think.
Well,
were you so Zoe, you were obviously very pro the Harden trade. Trade Ben, trade Matisse,
whatever we needed.
Maybe even a pick or two, whatever it took, type of thing. Yep. But not Maxey, right?
I didn't want Maxey to go, and I was very. You know what? This is how life as a Sixers fan works. He had 40 against Denver, and it wasn't even against Denver scrubs. Like, he had 40 against their starting lineup, and of course, 4 days later is when they're like, "Yeah, Harden's getting traded today." And
we want him. We
right,
want that
they're
guy.
like, "Yeah, we want that dude. Like, who's the kid that got 40 for you guys? Yeah, we want him.
We'll take him."
And I'm like, I just knew that would probably be, and I'll backtrack for a second. I respect Morey. I trust him. I trust that he knows Harden better than any of us, and I also trust that I trust him for having a line. And it's obvious that Maxey was the line. Like, Raphael Stone called back and was like, "Yo, Tillman said I gotta ask for Maxey."
Tillman said.
Tillman said to ask for Maxey, and Morey's like, "Tell Tillman to go fuck yourself." So I feel it. I understand it. I wouldn't have been upset about it because I understand now moving forward how this team is set up. Like the war chest is depleted. Like that's it. So.
They have one move.
Yeah, our best currency is playing on the court right now. So like you talk about wanting a Bill or Zach LaVine, like that's gonna come at the cost of maybe having to move a Shake and a Matisse, or like for a Bill, maybe even a Maxey. Like we don't have anything else to offer people outside of that. You know what I mean? Like teams aren't gonna be like, oh whatever, like we'll take Danny Green and a couple of picks. Like teams are going to want people.
There's no one I would trade Shake for. There's not a single person because his contract is
so
the best
good.
contract in the league.
It's the best contract in the league.
It's the best contract in the league. If it was Shake and Tobias's contract, Tobias, who I've always loved, who I've loved and never said anything bad about. But if you wanted to get under his contract, if you really needed to, and you attach Shake to it, but a Shake and Ben trade, like there's no one in the league I would do that for. There's just no one. Like it's just there. You just can't. You can't trade the best contract in the league. You can't do it. He's only getting better. Anyway, I just needed to say that. But so like, very pro Harden trade. Were there any misgivings within you? Because I kept waffling back and forth. Were you concerned about the, personality fit with Embiid, or like just blowing up the roster, or like being unhappy or being out of shape or whatever it is? Was that, as a pro Harden trade guy, did you have any of those things sort of?
I was most concerned with the personality. Like how is he in the locker room? How would he be with Doc? Doc's kind of an in-your-face guy. Like he admittedly said though that he treats his superstars a little different unless their last name is George. You know what I mean? But like he admittedly said he treats his superstars a little different, and he asks a lot more of them. And we're seeing that this year with Joe and the stuff he's kind of demanding from Ben. So that was my biggest concern. I was still 1,000% pro trade, but as one of those people who was like, do what you need to do, my biggest concern was personality and culture fit. But I think this team, the Sixers, have had so much turnover. We don't really have a culture. There's not really a culture that's been established. So that's up to Doc right now. You know what I mean? And I'm sure they've had those conversations. Like I read, I'm sure you guys all read that Doc was quietly, maybe not so quietly, lobbying for them to not move Ben because he wants a full year of Ben and Embiid. And I mean, that's another conversation, but I'm not quite sure he'll get his wishes. But I think he is trying to build a culture. I'm not sure what I think that looks like right now.
I think a lot of times the culture that we talk about that we think is there is like we sort of create it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I agree.
that sometimes the way that social media works in creating realities in a lot of ways, I think we can do that by the pictures we see and the interviews and then we say it's like this, and we do it to ourselves every year. We did it last year, and they all fucking couldn't wait to stop playing with one another. So,
they're standing on the bench almost the whole game. I don't know if you're realizing how much they're so happy. The vibes, uncountable. Well, we need like contact tracing for vibes. Like that's what we need to figure. It's like rubbing off on too many people. They're passing the vibes back and forth.
Dwight and Maxey have like a little hug and shit that they do. Like it's the cutest thing you've ever seen. I love it.
Mike, I have a update for you for LL Pavorsky engagement rings.
What do we got?
He reported on Twitter he had 45 of them this week, so we're up to 254. I'm just kidding. We're up to 210, number 210. 210 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from LL Pavorsky. I have, made several promises. Number 100, I'll marry them. Number 200, I'll marry them. All sorts of things. I'm wondering, when we get to 500, what will you do?
Let me think. I'm adjusting my desk here.
You look like you're going up and down. It's awesome.
When he gets to 500,
500 engagement rings sold to Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners. What are you going to promise?
I will single-handedly break one of them up and marry them. That would be my treat.
Well, wouldn't you like to be one of the people that gets your marriage broken up by Mike as a celebration for all those engagement rings? Can't do it unless you call LL. He's your guy, the original sponsor of the Ricky. We'll help you out with an engagement ring. We'll help you out with any sort of jewelry. Valentine's Day's coming up. You've been probably stuck in the house with your Valentine for the last year. You probably owe him a gift, owe her a gift, owe one of them a gift. Reach out to LL. He'll hook you up. 707 Walnut in Philly, only by appointment, and can do it online if you want. So 215-627-2252, Lee at llpavorsky.com, or just tweet at him at LL Pavorsky. Lee continues to support our charitable efforts with the Providence Animal Center and Coded by Kids. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
He also does divorces.
Well, I think, the coach can be helpful in setting culture, but as Doc showed in L.A., if the culture isn't set by your best players, then it's tough to have one, Well, let me ask you this, because we were talking about the war chest. I know you're going to say I'm crazy, but everybody just be honest for a second. I'm not talking about like how tradable it is, how much the contract would be worth to anybody else. On this specific team with Joel Embiid, does Tobias Harris live up to his money more than Simmons does? Is he better value on the Sixers than Simmons is?
I would say right now, I would probably say yes. I would say yes. I think
it's kind of tough.
It is a tough. I'm telling you, on what is this? The 17th. On the 17th of January, I would say yes, but there's so many caveats to that. Like last night was an awful Tobias and Ben game, and so I think that answer. I think that answer to your question is literally so night and day. Like I feel like whatever Doc said to Tobias, well, we know what he said. He told him to stop being Tobias, but like, so I think if he, I don't think that I personally don't think Tobias will ever live up to that contract. But if him and Ben are neck to neck, I think you probably get maybe the most out of Tobias. Like they need Tobias. I don't. He's not going to get traded because it's so much dead money in that contract. But for where they want to go, like they need him to be the player of the week a lot more times. Like he's just too important right now to the program. And then he Ben too, man. But shit, I think they're neck and neck right now. But if you ask me like who they're getting the most value of, I would say Tobias. Like Ben literally looks like he has no clue what he's doing right now, which is scary.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, like
sometimes he looks when Ben looks very bad, he looks very bad. Like that's
a good way to put it. When he looks bad, he looks really bad.
Doc showed Tobias the TJ Warren game where he scored 50 on us and just said, "What if this was you?" All the time.
Like what if this was
just
you?
pretended it, and he just like sort of he paused it and he just like cut out a little picture of Tobias's head and just sort of like slapped it on the TV. And I was like, "It's you." You do.
Remember that? So that's so funny with that memory up. I think back to when we were all like, there was like a little bit of excitement because we were like, we hadn't seen him in a couple of months. We were like, all right, it's finally back. The bubble. Everybody else was looking great. We were like, all right, let's see how they look. And then fucking Jay Warren drops 50 on our heads. And I'm like, okay, so same old Sixers. All right, well, that's comfortable.
Same old, yeah.
In this ever-changing world, at least the Sixers are the same. So
well, it's unfair that they had to play the bubble in Orlando, the worst possible place for the Sixers to play.
100%, yeah, that's 1,000%.
Just
dude.
brutal. It's like Superman playing in a bubble on friggin' whatever Krypton.
Just have the bubble in Toronto while you're at it too.
Yeah. just on that one rim. So my answer, Spike, is no. I think Tobias. First of all, he's making way more money than Ben.
Yeah.
And
He's making this year. He's making $4 million more.
That's sizable. That's not nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's just the player that Tobias is. Even though I'm not anti-Tobias most of the time anymore, he's just so much more easy to replace than Ben. He just really is. And I think that in a playoff type atmosphere, Ben's defense is better than Tobias's offense, and I believe in that mattering way more. I think that they need both. It's a hypothetical question, but I think that in a playoff they can roll out. You can take Tobias off the court and go Seth, Shake, Danny, Ben, and Embiid, and that plays. I don't think in a playoff atmosphere against Boston, who, by the way, lost by 30 to New York tonight, which is great. I don't think in a playoff atmosphere against any of those big teams that a Simmons-less lineup where Danny Green is your best wing defender is doing much.
Here's what last thing. I think it's I think it's just more of a discussion than we would have ever wanted it to be, at least right now, currently, Zoe, as you say. If I guess what I would say is, if contracts weren't a thing and it was just you want to try to win the championship this year, and they tell you, all right, Bradley Beal has been offered, and the Wizards have said you can choose whether you'd like to give them Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris, but you got to win the championship this year. I would give them Ben Simmons.
That's wrong.
I think the Sixers would have a better chance of winning a championship with Brad Beal and Tobias Harris on the court than Brad Beal and Ben Simmons on the court.
It's very clear that you think that. I'm not saying you don't think that. I know that you do. Mm-hmm. But it is wrong.
Well, let me tell you, if there was one guy that the coach could have thought about benching in the last 3 minutes of that game last night, it wasn't Tobias.
It's one game, though.
But it's not just one game, though.
The guys have had bad. Look, Ben's playing badly. He's frustrating to watch sometimes, absolutely. But he's incredibly valuable to a winning team that has Embiid. They're not gonna win a championship without Embiid. That's like very clear.
Yes.
So in games that Embiid's not playing, you may as well be like, this is a scrimmage that will affect their
playoff seeding,
final standings. Yeah. But it's, I think that saying that, whatever. It's Ben needs to be better. Mm-hmm. He's a better player than Tobias. He's more impactful to winning than Tobias at the highest level. Tobias, as the best player on any team, isn't making the playoffs. Ben, as the best player on the team, could. But
I'm talking about this specific team with Joel Embiid as the focus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys know? So here's a tidbit that doesn't mean anything right now, but something to think about. So shout out to my guy Trill on Twitter. But I saw earlier that if the season ended today, we would draw the Nets in the first round.
Oh.
in the
long season. There's long season. A lot of time to go.
In the 4-5 matchup.
Doesn't even count till the preseason.
Yeah, doesn't count till Doesn't count till So
yeah. I was texting with our friend Sixers Adam, our very own.
Our very own.
Because it's now that he wrote that article on the website about other guys that they can now that Harden's off the table, other guys that's starting to open up as the next trade target, and it just doesn't seem like, especially because of the sort of universal fit. Obviously, Harden is better than Beal. Obviously, Harden is better than Zach LaVine, but as far as the willing to play there, those guys have more universality. I think of 20 teams in the league would want to try to trade for Beal or LaVine, and so the asking price is going to be pretty high for either of those guys. And I just think in a world where we're going to have to give up multiple things, I just don't think that's in the cards this year. So I'm assuming basically that the team is, for this year, basically as it is. It's a pandemic season with no fans, just all the caveats of just whatever. I think they're just going to be let's just ride this out. And so what is the realistic few upgrades we can make? And we got Korkmaz coming back.
Yeah.
Who knows? Dwight seems to be locked in as backup center. I would again love to have a stretch five. I'm already sort of targeting the draft for the our stretch five of the future.
Yeah.
Jay Huff of the Virginia Cavaliers.
I love that.
But the spot that I look at that they need to upgrade is Mike Scott.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously love Mike. He's great, best guy,
Great guy.
respect. Obviously, we pay our respects, but it would be nice to have somebody that can handle the ball a little bit there, that can create a little bit, that can be a more consistent shooter. And so I was texting with Adam about is that like Nemanja Bjelica? Is that do they go make that offer?
Fuck
for
that guy.
Tucker?
Nah.
Former Sixer Nemanja Bjelica.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Absolutely not.
If they can, Adam actually made it. Adam sent me it. He was in the archives of his trade machine, and he found a way to get both Evan Fournier and PJ Tucker on the team.
I was
nice.
I was gonna say PJ Tucker was my guy. I think I read that he's available for a couple of second rounders. I would do that.
Yeah.
I would do that tomorrow.
For sure.
I think he's immediate upgrade.
Yeah, but that's for me the spot. I think Fournier costs a little bit more money, and maybe Orlando doesn't want to give up yet, but he's an expiring contract. That to me is a slightly bigger wing that is not a total zero in defense, going to handle the ball a little bit, that kind of thing. Like PJ Tucker is, you don't want him playing with Danny Green because they're essentially just take off their shoes. They're standing in one place. Yeah. Lose the ability to, they're doing
That's
it right
bad for
there.
your
They're
eyes,
standing
yeah.
there.
That's bad for your
And so
eyes.
it'd be nice to have somebody that can get a little hot. I mean, less likely, but I would throw Terrence Ross.
Mm-hmm.
I would throw Danny Green and a pick situation for Terrence Ross and get another guy there that can get warm.
I gotta tell you,
that's the sort of thing I'm thinking of. Not the high upside, but just a little bit second unit, run with Shake, that kind of thing.
I gotta tell you, I'd rather have Terrence Ross. By the way, I feel like he's one of the guys we've been talking about trading for
forever,
5 years now. I like him. I think I'd rather have Danny Green on the team in the playoffs than Terrence Ross.
Maybe.
There's
an argument to be made. Danny's 15 million expiring. Terrence Ross, I think, has 2 more years left after this at a fair deal, a very fair and tradable deal type of thing.
I do agree with your point that they probably are going to just look to work the margins. Rest in peace, Sam Hinkie. I think that there's the other thing that comes with that. If you involve these guys in trade talks again, you got to be sure it's going to happen. I'm not quite sure you want to float it out there that you're offering Ben and whoever in a bill package,
right? And
you're also bidding against, like you said, 16 other teams who are oh yeah, we could do Brad Bill, like Harden's a dickhead, but we love Brad Bill, and we can, we're one Brad Bill away. Because I feel like there's a lot of teams who think like that right now, that they're one Bill away, and there was also I was talking to Jason Lipschutz. Who mentioned that what if the Nuggets decided to sell high on a couple of guys? You know what I mean? And what if they want to sell high on Jamal Murray? You're oh shit, we can't outbid Jamal Murray. You know what I mean? It gets really dicey. So I love everybody being forward thinking, but I don't think it's gonna be that easy to just go and say, well, we'll just go grab Bill, or we'll just go grab whoever is, just having a shitty time where they are right now. It's going to be a lot easier to work the margins and kind of shore up the second unit.
Yeah. And as a Zach LaVine guy, I would give up lots of stuff for Beal, but I don't think I would give up lots of stuff for Zach LaVine.
It starts to add up, right?
Yeah,
it's just you start to be all right. Then we're counting on I love what we're getting out of Isaiah Joe. Yeah. Very fun, Isaiah Joe. Keep shooting Isaiah Joe. Yeah. Looking interesting on defense. Keep adding weight. Get on that Shake plan. Yeah. But you don't want to count. You don't want him as your 7th or 8th guy. You need the Sixers. Are looking a little deep, and the idea that in a pandemic season we're gonna start to stack those guys on top of each other and go get one guy. Yeah. I don't know. It scares me a little bit.
So go around the room here. We just had our first. We had 2 Daryl Morey trades for the season. Both looked like they worked out fine. We had, within, weeks, our first pursuit at a megastar to trade one of the two cornerstones of the franchise. He Daryl Morey'd it up right away. I assume we all went in here with 100% trust and confidence level in Morey to do what needed to be done. And if anybody could, he could. I want to get everybody's trust and confidence level in Morey now after living the experience for a little while. Mike, you want to go first?
I mean, confident. I feel good about it. I think he was willing to trade Ben. I think that I wanted to ask Zoe about this. I feel like the Tillman Fertitta pettiness meter is off the charts.
Yeah.
And I do think that there's a lot of we missed our once in a lifetime opportunity stuff happening about getting Harden. And it's I don't think that they wanted to fucking give him. I really don't. And so I blame Fertitta and his shitty restaurants for not wanting to just take the best trade. But I mean he got a good trade. It's the trade. It's not like he sold for nothing.
It's a great trade.
Yeah, it's potentially a great trade. It's potentially a bunch of
but you have to say
Cabarros over the next 8 years.
Yeah, but I think you have to say if at the beginning of this, when they were put in that situation, for them to get 4 unprotected first rounders, 4 unprotected pick swaps, I think everyone would have said that is a significant haul.
I think it's fine. I mean, it's
fine. What more could they get, Mike?
They could get a guy that they want to build around. They could get one guy that they wanted to build around and say this is the new face of the franchise, and we're going to do this way. And right now that they have old John Wall, who looks pretty good. They have Oladipo, who they may re-sign to look for, but this team as is very far from contending in the West. They might not make the playoffs this season. They could say hey, we have an Oklahoma City's almost level picks over the next couple years, but they're not going to be as high as Oklahoma City's is, and they don't have. I think SGA is a better piece to build around in Oklahoma City than anyone is in Houston right now, and so they're still missing that one guy. Even though I like a lot of those guys individually.
Big SGA guy over here. Big SGA. Of course, love him.
I just don't know who that player was that was available to them.
I mean, I think some people think it's Ben Simmons.
Well, they obviously didn't.
But some people didn't. Yeah, I mean, or there was a level of fuck Daryl Morey there, which I part of me respects. Have to. If you're gonna run $1 billion organization or whatever the hell it is, and you're gonna be I'm gonna stick it to this guy.
Yeah, the game is the game, man. I get it. I understand it. The game is the game. I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind that he was just nah, fuck Morey. Raphael Stone called him and was this is the best offer we got, or this is what the Sixers are offering. He was this might wind up being these 7 picks might wind up never being as good as Ben Simmons is right now, but fuck them, we're not doing it. And I listen, I respect it, man. We don't know all of what happened in Houston between the two of them, but we do know that they will not be sharing a dinner table anytime soon. So good for you, man. We move on. But I guess I'll give my confidence level. I'm still very confident. I do not fault him for anything. I think he's shown willingness to do what it takes. I think he's seeing in some form or fashion the same thing we're seeing, the same thing that we talk about. So I have no reason to believe that he isn't at least trying to do what's best. I think he also realizes that the cupboard is kind of bare. There's going to have to be something where we start to build assets. When you're not a rebuilding team, you're in that stasis of, well, we're not bad enough, but we're still maybe a really good second unit or another perimeter creator away. So you're always tinkering. You know what I mean? Tinkering and toiling and plugging and playing. So I think that's what we're going to see a lot from him. It's just a lot of plugging and playing, a lot of seeing where guys maybe won't fit or will fit, and I think a lot of it will come down to how good or just how much he trusts Doc and how much faith we have in Doc and that coaching staff. Really, I really think it's going to come down to a lot of what Doc does with the tools that he has.
Yeah. The problem with the Bear cupboard, I actually don't think the cupboard is bare. They have a bunch of picks still. They're not like in debt to picks. And now we're looking at like between Shake and Tyrese and Isaiah Joe and maybe Matisse. Like you're just looking at the Cubs thing. It's like those are interesting guys. And the problem with stocking your cupboard is then you want to keep what's in the cupboard.
That's right. That's
you want to be like, wait, that's my
because you want to look at
that's
it.
my favorite
Yeah.
little fucking thing.
You
I don't want to
look
trade
at
him.
it.
Well,
That's the problem for
I
it.
want to
Yeah,
look at
and-
Maxey, dude. I don't want to fucking ship him to Chicago. I want to look at him.
I know.
And-
I know. For like Saturansky or something.
and the problem being that the way that NBA trades are going now, we're not getting like the Philly version of any trade. Like the Philly version of fan is like, here's the two players we don't want and a protected pick, and we get the player.
Right.
But those trades aren't happening right now. You know, like the price is high. Like the price is
Right.
high for all these guys.
I think as we get into the season more and things shake out and teams are looking at their expiring contract and going like, I gotta trade this fucking guy, otherwise we're just gonna buy him out and get nothing.
Yeah.
Then like a late first or 2 seconds or like the chance to, you know, if somebody is willing to believe that Isaiah Joe is like, you know, the next Shamet type of thing, then maybe they're like, all right, well, you know,
Yeah.
we can roll with that. Then maybe, but yeah, I think it's weird. The thing about like with Daryl is it's not only like, do I make this trade? It's like, do I make this trade now?
Yeah.
Like what else are we
Yeah.
waiting to see what happens and waiting for like prices to go down and other guys to become available? Like, because there's really like you're not going to be doing theoretically multiple versions of that trade. It's going to be like we can stack like Mike Scott and like
Right.
Terrence Ferguson and like get a guy, or we just like hold off and wait for the perfect one.
Yeah, because you can't just you can do your due diligence right now and monitor stuff, but I think teams are still trying to see. Like a lot of teams have just been depleted by COVID. Like a lot of teams haven't had their full actual healthy lineups together for like that a long period of time. So I think that as January ends and we get into hopefully a better February in terms of protocol and stuff, then I think we'll start to see teams start to review their situations. Like I think Houston has to convince Oladipo that this is the place for him. You know what I mean? Like that's an interesting situation to monitor and like
or flip him for other stuff.
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know?
Flip him from other stuff like with this for all we know the Raptors could fall the face of the earth. Like then you got Siakam and Kyle Lowry sitting there. Like it's gonna be interesting as we get closer to that March deadline. Trade deadline.
Can you even trade people while they're in like COVID protocols?
That's
I bet. I don't know.
a good question, dude. I don't know. That would be
Wild West.
Well, I would suppose you could waive them. Just you could waive a health thing, just like the Nets or the Pacers are waiving the Karis LeVert thing. The only thing is when they're in, when they're in protocol, they can't travel, so they can't go for their. I guess the mechanics of it would be impossible. Before we go, we had one mailbag question and one jigsaw. So, Zoe, you want to hang out for the mailbag question, the jigsaw? So mailbag question, Zoe, you're aware of the tank versus babies debate. Okay. So Jared emails, and he says, I was having the 1 billion babies versus tank discussion with some of my students during our informal philosophy Friday talks, and a student introduced an interesting variation. What if it was 1 billion 85-year-olds versus a tank? Does that skew more tank or humans? I've been converted to being a 1 billion baby believer, but with the 85-year-olds, you remove the factor that they'll get stronger as they get older. It will be the opposite. So yes, maybe some will be strong, but strong enough to defeat a tank, who knows? What do you think?
When the tank is just hiding from the 85-year-olds. Just letting them die.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, I think 1 billion 85-year-olds could overwhelm a tank. I mean, 1 billion people.
Or they'll just, you know what they'll do? They'll just talk the tank to death. Like the tank will just, you know what I mean? Like that's they'll just
tell
talk
the tank how
to
it
death.
used to be.
Right, tell the tank how it used to be and like how much gas used to cost, and the tank's just like, oh shit, I can't go through this 1 billion more times.
Tell the tank about Wes Unsel's outlet pass.
Offer the tank hard candies.
Right, hard candy.
Here's a Werther's.
There was no true shooting percentage back in my day. Like that's perfect. I might lean more toward the 85-year-olds.
Yep. Let's end on the jigsaw. And the jigsaw comes to us, a listener jigsaw, comes to us from Jake and Steve. Here are our options. Option A, for the rest of your life, you wear a Family Feud-style name tag at all times. If you have clothes on at all, you wear the name tag. A few clarifications, you have to wear it even at home, and it has to be on the outermost layer of your outfit. Option B, every time you hear someone answer a question, you have to yell, "Good answer," and clap like they do on the show. Would love to hear your takes.
I'm yelling good answer.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Good answer. Good answer. Yeah. I'm in on that. Yep. Definitely good answer.
Mike?
So wait, I have to wear a name tag all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What's the show that they're referencing?
Family Feud.
Oh, Family Feud.
Yeah.
Either of those seem kind of fine. I was thinking, I went to pick up today, and I was like, to pick up food today, and I was like, do I want to, like, talk to them, or I was kind of just like hold up a sign that just says picking up for Mike. I guess the idea of having just a name tag just seems like kind of a nice, easy life hack. But yelling good answer at somebody is also a fun thing to do. So I might pick both. The rare both.
You would get, man. Oh man, it would be funny for the first week, and then boy, people will fucking hate you. We actually
How
got
often am I hearing people answer questions?
Here, I'm insisting on double jigsaw, and then Mike emailed a jigsaw too. We're on a roll. We might as well. Option A, for the rest of your life, you have to start every sentence with, "I might be wrong about this, but." You have to start every sentence with that, or every meal you eat for the rest of your life ends up being a McRib sandwich. You don't know it's going to be a McRib until you actually sit down to eat it. No matter what you order at any restaurant or what you cook, once it's ready to serve, it will automatically be a McRib.
I get a sense after meal 18 that a McRib is coming.
All right, the jig is up.
I'm not going to continue to be Lucy with the McRib football.
Yeah.
And be like, again, McRib? I had no idea.
So is it that, or every time you talk, you have to say, "I might be wrong about this, but..."
I would stop talking. And I'd be better off. The world would be better off. Maybe I just pick that.
I might be wrong about this. Yeah, I'm doing that. Because then I would eventually just shut up, which would probably be, my wife would be in heaven if that happened. So yeah, I think if I eventually just shut up after saying I might be wrong about this. So
right. Plus I got my name tag already, so I'm just like, I got that.
Plus I already got my bit where I say good answer all the time. So I'm just
Yes.
Good.
I think the real answer is the McRib thing, but I can't because I'm not eating animal. So I got to do I might be wrong about this, but so. Zoe, look forward to Thursday's newsletter. I would say that your newsletter last week was I believe, your peak of your newsletter. I mentioned on the pod. I was waiting with bated breath to see what you had to say in long form. You did a good job, so thank you.
Man. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody who's listening, who also subscribed. You guys are an easy audience to write for, so it's awesome.
Love it. Love the newsletter. RightsRickySanchez.com/newsletter.
Correct. Thank you, stateside. We will talk to you. Assuming there's a game Wednesday night, we'll figure it out. Zoe, you do it. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, you know it, face.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
I'm gonna fucking kill you!
Time for plan B.